Hello and welcome to another episode of Visiting Professionals. I'm your host, Austin Slabough, and today I'm down at 101.9 WDET with on-air personality, Chris Campbell.
Hey, how's it going, my man, Austin?
Not too bad, man.
Great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Stay tuned, guys. We got a lot of great stuff coming up.
Hi, my name is Austin Slabough. I'm a student at Open University. Most of my time is spent on campus in class. But when I'm not hitting the books, I'm visiting professionals. On this episode of Visiting Professionals, I made my way down to the city of Detroit to visit with DJ and on-air personality, Chris Campbell. Chris is the host of 101.9 WDET's The Progressive Underground. Chris was kind enough to invite me to the station to learn more about his career.
Hey, great to see you, Austin.
Thanks for having me, Chris. How you doing, man?
Man, we've got a great show in store, and we're about ready to get started. Want to join us?
Absolutely, man. I want to see it.
All right, let's get to it.
Tonight, Chris is hosting his weekly show, The Progressive Underground. With his eclectic style of music ranging from jazz to electronic, Chris has created a local and international following.
You're locked into the Progressive Underground on 101.9 WDET and WDET.org, a community service of Wayne State University and National Public Radio for Southeastern Michigan. In our next set, we're going to chop it up and interview the soul, rock, funk, hip-hop group Gus Greenleaf and bump tracks from their individual discographies, so you stay tuned as the music continues right after this.
Aside from just playing music, Chris also hosts and interviews musicians and guests ranging from local talent to legendary producers.
My name is Chris Campbell, and we are soul traveling on a Sunday night. This is how we get down each and every weekend. We hope you're digging it. Welcome, Detroit.
Chris, man, first off, I got to start off with saying that was an amazing show. You had this place bumping. That was awesome. But you had so many people in here that were doing so many different things. Tell me, what's the roles and responsibilities of everybody else in here?
Well, thankfully, I've got two great associate producers, because I used to do all this on my own, and that was great, but it could also be a little overwhelming. So the girl that was handling like the phones and doing a lot of the social media and Facebook Living, that's Selena Collins, and she's great with social media, and that's a big component of the show. You know, that's almost half and half. You got the show and broadcasting that, but the social media component has been huge. So she helps us with like the Facebook Living and of course our Wall of Fame, taking all the pictures, getting all the good shots and posting it to our Facebook pages, as well as engaging with contest winners and just some of the calls that we get. And then Roosevelt Belton.
What's up, Austin?
Who also happens to be an alumni of OU. He actually has a show on WXOU, Friday Night Groove. He runs our board, and so he kind of keeps everything just sort of in a timely manner. We've got to, in addition to broadcasting and doing the show, we've got ads that play, you know, some people would call those commercials that have to run at certain points in time, so he kind of keeps all of that on point with the music and the program that I've sort of put together and mastered and engineered.
Now, Chris, I noticed during a radio show that you had the script here that you bounced off of a lot. You're laughing about it. Tell me, how much work goes into this thing?
Well, actually, just to put this whole show together with the script, it's 10 hours. And, you know, the script is so detailed because you got to kind of cover all of the artists and the songs that you play. Everything's kind of time-coded as well. There's so much that's required into just putting and prepping the show together before we even go on air. You know, I've got to report all the songs and kind of give backgrounds on the songs, but we have to report it through our sound exchange so that these artists can get paid their royalties, and it fulfills the FCC requirement. So before we even go on air, we've got to have all of these songs sort of reported. It's like filling out an audit or a tax return for each and every song.
Gotcha. Now, Chris, how do you decide what songs that you want to play? Is that your own personal preference, or is there something else that goes into it?
Well, the songs come from several different sources. I'm kind of linked to the music industry, so I get a lot of music just on that point alone. But I've got a lot of colleagues just overseas that send me things. I come across a lot of music. You know, a lot of my friends are artists and things. So all of the music that you hear in the Progressive Underground is personally hand curated.
Chris, how much of the script do you actually stick to, and how much of it turns into improv during the show due to time restraints and things of that nature?
Lots of improv. Tons of improv, actually, especially when we have interviews, because interviews, especially if it's a good one, we'll always go over. So I'm always cutting the script, moving things around, cutting songs, maybe moving a song to another spot, just to conform to our time, because we've got a lot of, in public radio, you have a lot of underwriter spots that have to be done at a certain time frame. And sometimes you have these underwriters who are on their phone looking at their clocks, making sure that we run their ads in a timely fashion. So we've got to kind of move the show along, in addition to kind of, getting all that we can out of these interviews while playing all the music that we play and still adhere to the time continuum, as it were.
You do it well, man. You can't even tell.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. It's a labor of love. Trust.
Coming up after the break, our tour of WDET's studio continues, and I sit down with Chris as I ask him some more important questions about his career. When Visiting Professionals continues.
University Television is here to provide you educational, engaging, and entertaining content. Catch OUTV live on Comcast Channel 41 or on the internet at oakland.edu/OUTV. OUTV, it's on and poppin'.
Welcome back to Visiting Professionals. Today, I'm visiting with radio host and DJ Chris Campbell. After the show ended, I got the opportunity to sit down with Chris and ask him some questions about his career.
Chris, honestly, man, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day and just being able to sit here with me today and just talk about things. Now, I got to see the on-air Chris Campbell. I want to get to know you as a person. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Where'd you grow up? Are you from around here?
Yeah. Born and raised, Detroit native, and I guess how I got into the whole music thing. I mean, I've been DJing for since the '80s, so I was definitely pretty much associated with a lot of the music. I came up on house, deep house, back in the '80s, and so that was kind of like my foundation. But an influence of mine was the Electrifying Mojo. He was a very prominent influence, and probably the reason why I'm doing this. So that introduced me to just a lot of different music, a lot of different types of culture. On his kind of show, I mean, you could hear every different genre of music, and so I've tried to emulate that, because in regular terrestrial radio, everything's segregated, everything's homogenized. But on my show, you throw a bunch of genres into this gumbo and soup and you mix it up, and there you have it.
There you have it. Now, Chris, how did you first get involved or get on the music scene? What first made you take a liking to it?
Well, in addition to DJing, I was also a music writer. So I've written for everyone from Vibe Magazine to Smooth Jazz Magazine, Upscale, Rolling Out, all of that. And I was an editor at the Michigan Chronicle. And I had all these stories, some that would make press, some that wouldn't. And so after a while, I kind of looked at some of the things that didn't make the cut. And I realized, I had a lot of material that I could work with. And so I started kind of, the gears started kind of getting in motion for me to just write a book. And so I wrote a book on basically progressive soul, the modern soul music movement. And so that kind of got me on tour and got me in the doors of a lot of colleges and things, and the lecture circuit, all of that. And then, as well as on WDET here, they had me here on several different shows to talk about the book and talk about soul music, its relation to Detroit, and where it fits in a global context. And so after having me on about 3 or 4 different shows, WDET management at the time just said, hey, you want your own show? And so those were the roots and the genesis of the Progressive Underground.
Now, Chris, you make it sound like there's so much more to everything that you do. You like the music that you like, and now you write it, and you also written books, and now you have your own show.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How did you do all that?
I think it's just all having a passion for what you do. Sometimes when you have a passion and a love for what you do, I mean, you would be surprised how far you can take it.
Did you have any schooling that really helped prepare you for this career path?
Well, I mean, I've been out to college and everything, but I really didn't take up. I mean, this isn't really what I took up in college,
Well, tell me, what did you take up in college?
Journalism.
Journalism.
I was going to be a journalist and be a newspaper editor and all of that, but the music just kind of called me. So that's when I kind of just married the DJing with the beat writing, and that happened when I was out in New York. I lived out there for several years. And where I was DJing at, this place called the Arc, they would have a lot of international acts come through and just sort of hang out. I met acts like Michelle Indigeo Cello, Brand New Heavies. This is when the acid jazz scene was really hot, Jamiroquai. And this is when they were starting to emerge as artists, when they were just breaking out on the scene. And so I was covering those acts and meeting all these people back in my New York days. So once I moved back to Detroit and was starting to kind of get on the scene with the journalist side of music, that just all kind of came together. Everything is serendipity and synergy. And so when I started writing books on music, all of these acts that I've kind of had an affiliation with before, I tapped for the books. So for like the neo soul books that I wrote, a lot of those acts I had met while I was out in New York and had DJed gigs. I remember DJing a gig, Lauryn Hill, when she was still with the Fugees. You know, I met all of them. So that was a foundation for some of the stuff that I'm doing now. But all of it got started going all the way back to Detroit radio and listening to cats like the Electrifying Mojo, Jeff Mills, the Wizard, and some of these others, WJZZ, way back when I was a kid. So all of this sort of kind of met in the perfect storm, and here we have it.
Chris, it sounds like you have a knack for finding a lot of different talents. What's the #1 goal of your own radio show?
Yeah, music discovery, that's the big goal. And music discovery, especially here in Detroit. Detroit, you know, when people think of Detroit, a lot of people think of just Motown. Detroit is so much more than Motown. We are leaders in the soul music movement. We're definitely leaders in the electronic arena when it comes to techno and house. We are the birthplace of techno and house, you know. And so a lot of these acts that are here based in Detroit, they've had to go overseas to get recognized and to get popular because local radio, corporate radio, doesn't play these acts. You know, they kind of go from their homogenized list that they're given from their headquarters, and it's not so much the talent that really rises to the top. So the mission of my show is to serve as a music discovery forum, a music discovery platform. I mean, I'll play acts that are big and international, but I'll also play acts that make music in their basement and slip me stuff, you know, to get on my show. So all of that has equal footing. And, you know, mainstream, when you look at the mainstream music and, you know, the countdown list and everything, it's all corporate, some of it even payola. But here, if your stuff sounds good, if your stuff is thumping, if your stuff is banging, then you'll get a place on my playlist.
Now, Chris, how often does your show play here at 101.9?
It plays every Sunday from 8 to 10, and then it's rerun in an encore format Saturday nights at midnight.
Okay, now what's the steps that you take to putting this show together?
Well, there's quite a few steps. One is just sort of gathering the music, because once again, the music comes from so many different places. I mean, I'll play international acts that are renowned and acclaimed, but then I'll also play acts that aren't so well known. So some of those acts, I'll get things directly sent from the artists themselves. Sometimes the artists will, like as was the case with the interview tonight, you know, one of the artists actually sent me a track on Friday, you know, gave me some information about it. We were able to get that on the radio on Sunday. So some of these artists are prolific, they're talented, but not quite as acclaimed as some of these international acts that are signed to record labels. So some of these acts are making music in their PJs in the basement and slipping me MP3s in my email. So I get it from several different sources, and then I'm just sort of trying to put together you know, segments. Each show has about 6 segments worth of 20-minute music beds. And that's when we're not doing interviews. If we're doing interviews, it could be a little bit more than that. But you're putting together all these music from different sources. Everything is hand curated. Everything is personally selected, personally picked. Some of the music has to be sort of EQ'd, because again, we're getting some independent music that comes through. So sometimes I have to personally remaster some of the tracks to make them radio ready. And so once all of that takes place, you know, re-engineering things and then actually reporting some of the songs, as we had talked about even earlier, some of the songs have to get, all the songs have to get reported to the FCC and Sound Exchange to ensure the royalties for artists getting paid both professional and some that are independent and not so well known. Everybody gets paid because that goes through Sound Exchange and fulfills the FCC requirements. And then once all of that is put together, we put it on a timeline, start scripting it out. And all in all, it takes about 10 hours each week to put together a show. Yes.
Man, that's a long time. Now,
Yes.
where do you find the time to put a show like that together? Where do you find 10 hours in your day to make that?
Well, you kind of make that time because, I mean, I do have a day gig. You know, I work for a government municipality doing a lot of PR and things like that. So I have a full-time gig in addition to this. So you do have to sort of make the time to kind of get it done, get it in. So it's usually pretty compacted, a little stressful sometimes before. So once we get to the show, it's kind of a waiting to exhale kind of a thing, especially once we get to the end of the show because there's been a lot of time crunching in putting the show together.
Gotcha. Now, what exactly would you say is the hardest or most stressful part about putting it all together? Is it the time crunch, or is it trying to find things that you think your audience will like?
Well, there is an abundance of things that the audience would like, so that's never a problem. I guess there's just so much music because not only am I getting music from Detroit artists, local artists, regional artists, but we have an international following, so I'm getting stuff from all over the world. And, you know, all over the world is really where music is happening. You know, when you go to these enclaves musically in like Paris, Amsterdam, London, France, Germany, there's great music happening there. So to try to synthesize all of that with what's happening here in Detroit, because, you know, I mix Detroit music in with global artists to kind of create this synergy. That's pretty much involved. That's a challenge.
Okay.
Just fitting all of that music under one umbrella and getting enough diversity into each and every show. It's probably the biggest challenge.
Now, Chris, what is it that you do that sets your show apart from other shows? Is it the music, your personality, or kind of a mix of both?
I think it's a little mix of both, but I think more so there's an emphasis on the music and music discovery. I mean, we have literally played acts that would never have gotten their music played on any other form, in any other medium. And some of these acts we've seen go on to international acclaim. We've actually broken acts here in Detroit, acts that are locally based, but also international acts. There's people that have sent me music from the Netherlands. Never heard of these people before. They get on and they start getting played in the US, Canada, because we have a Canadian audience as well. And it's trickled back to overseas, and you know, some of them have credited the Progressive Underground, my show, with actually getting them discovered. So that's been the most fulfilling aspect of it, I would say.
Coming up after the break, my interview with Chris Campbell comes to an end as I ask him some more interesting questions about his career. When Visiting Professionals continues.
You're watching OUTV Channel 41. OUTV aims to provide informative and professional news packages covering what's happening on and around campus. Tune in each and every day to discover new things and learn more with our educational and engaging content. And if you're looking for highly entertaining and enjoyable programming, you're on the right channel. OUTV, Oakland University's premier cable channel.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. Stop the texts. Stop the wrecks. Visit us at stoptextsstopwrecks.org.
Welcome back to Visiting Professionals. Today, I'm at 101.9 WDET, a radio station located in downtown Detroit. I had some final questions for Chris, and he was happy to share his knowledge.
Is there any common misconceptions about radio that you want to debunk for us?
Yeah, you know, people think it's just a party, and it's not. It's actually a lot of work behind the scenes, and the radio station that I'm with, it's public radio, so it's a little different from terrestrial radio or commercial radio. So you've got to do a lot of the legwork on your own, you know. So oftentimes you don't have like an engineer or 2 engineers assigned to you. You don't have a marketing person assigned to you. You've got to usually market all of your stuff. Kind of until I got some interns helping me out, or some associate producers, you know, I was kind of handling the board all on my own. I was kind of like a one-man band. So it's not quite the party that people think it is. People think radio is just, oh, you're hosting a show, just having a great time in the studio. You get a chance to go to a lot of concerts for free, and it's one big party. No, it's a lot of work. And even when you go to the concerts or host shows and things like that, at festivals and things, I mean, it's just a lot of work. And it's not so much, there's not all this give and all these perks that people think it is. It's a lot of work, and it's oftentimes a labor of love.
If you had to give any advice to a student that wants to get in this industry, what advice would you give them personally?
Do it for the love. And then expose yourself to as much musical diversity as possible. That's one thing I liked about radio from back in the day, whether it was Electrifying Mojo, WABX, or WBLS. Some of these music institutions that I came up on, it was always about eclecticism and diversity in the music. It wasn't just one genre. I mean, I was well versed, and this is based on the radio stations I used to listen to. I was well versed in, of course, R&B, soul, but I could also be well versed in rock, classical, bluegrass, blues, country, all of that. And all of that came from all of these radio stations playing more than one genre of music. So I would say just expose yourself to as many genres as possible. Have the love just sort of fuel your passion for the music. And then, it doesn't hurt to kind of do some internships, get some of that experience under your belt. And then with technology the way it is now, you don't necessarily have to depend upon terrestrial radio in order to get into the broadcast industry. You've got internet radio, you've got satellite radio. So there are many more options, way more options than when I was breaking into the industry that you have at your disposal as a student. So I would just say, just become acquainted with all of that, and don't put all of your eggs in one basket. Spread them out into several different baskets and create as many options for yourself, and then choose the best one.
Now, how the times have changed from when you first got in the industry to how it's progressed to now, and the whole entire change in technology and social media, how much has that affected what you do day in and day out here?
It's affected it drastically, and in a good way though, because you are the master of your own destiny. I mean, basically, if you can hustle up and get on social media and really be aggressive with marketing yourself, you can really create your own pathway, your own following, your own audience, in addition to doing the broadcast work as well. So that working in tandem with each other has, to me, been the biggest change with radio broadcasting. And to me, it's also affected the record companies. It's sort of humbled them, because before it used to be hard to kind of break into the music industry. The record companies were the official gatekeepers, and if you couldn't get on with a record company, that was it. But now with technology, I mean, you can become an independent artist and develop your own platform and become an international artist, all based on your work ethic and your hustle and, of course, your talent for putting together good music.
What's been some of the highlights of your career, not only in radio, but also in writing and everything else that it is that you do?
Wow, it's hard to narrow down. I'll start off with radio first. Just having this show has been just a highlight, because I've been able to meet a lot of artists that I grew up listening to, in addition to helping a lot of artists that are new and emerging become discovered and become globe-trotting artists. So that's been very, very fulfilling. I would say too, it's turned, I guess, my name into sort of a tastemaker. People tap me now whenever artists are coming to town. They want to get on the show and they want to get written about, because my show is directly tapped into NPR, National Public Radio. So they tap me a lot of times to write for them their Songs We Love segments. I've been featured on their national shows, heavy rotation. I've got like a monthly column with them, and they, every month, they kind of talk to me about what's hot, not only in Detroit, but also around the world in electronic music. So just becoming kind of a tastemaker in that vein. And then that's opened up doors and avenues to like host different festivals, whether here or out of town. And of course, the books, that's further kicked down the door and created more opportunities to be published as an author as well on music. So several different highlights. And then, just some of the guests I've had people on ranging from George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic to Amp Fiddler to the cast and crew of the Scene Dance Show. So local, national, regional, international, all of these type of acts, being able to be on this Progressive Underground platform has just been a privilege and an honor. And I would say those are my biggest highlights to date.
Now, going from highlights, what have been some of the more difficult things for you in this career path? Was there ever been a time where you thought, maybe this isn't for me?
Not really. I mean, there have been challenging times, but my love for music has been so deep that I'm in it for the long haul. Now, in terms of just, I know in publishing the book, that was pretty difficult because it only took about maybe a little over a year to write the book. It took me about another year and a half to 2 to clear picture clearances and copyright. So I got a lesson in copyright and intellectual copyright, in putting that book together because, some of the pictures, and the book is heavy on pictures. It has like 300 images. I had to kind of go through different artists and things to clear it. A couple of the artists passed, so, you have to go through their estate to get intellectual copyright clearances. That got held up a lot. So that was an interesting learning experience. And then just sort of working with publishing companies. I published the book when the book publishing company was kind of going through flux. The internet sort of kind of almost killed the publishing industry. So it's almost easier to publish independently now. But when I was coming out, trying to deal with, publishing companies and things, and publishing companies are getting bought out, and so you're sort of put on the shelf. And so you've got to kind of play a waiting game. That's been pretty challenging. So I could definitely relate to a lot of these artists who are misunderstood by their record companies and having their projects shelved and things like that, because that's how it was with me in publishing the book.
Okay. Now, is there any way that a student or anybody interested in just getting in this field can make their way down to WDET and help you with your show or even internship here?
It's great that you asked, because actually a couple of my interns now, one of them is a former OU student, another one I believe is a Wayne State student. So yeah, there are definitely internship opportunities here, especially with my show. And we're getting into the mix and the time period where I'll be looking for another 2 or 3 interns kind of coming up. So your timing is impeccable. So you can hit up WDET by calling 313-577-4146, or you can hit up info@wdet.org to get into or check up on internship opportunities.
One last question before we wrap everything up here today. Is this the best job in the world?
Absolutely. Anytime you've got a job that feeds and fuels your passion, something that you're just on fire about, and you get the chance to do this every week, yes, it is indeed the best job in the world. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't any challenges or obstacles every week. You always have to prepare a step or 2 ahead in anticipation of, just things that may happen in the studio. There may be some equipment snafus. Sometimes we've had maybe artists that maybe have been late showing up for the interview, or maybe have not shown up at all. You've got to anticipate every step and have a contingency plan for everything. And Elise, she's an iconic broadcaster here at the station. She gave me one of the best words of advice, and that is to stay 1 to 2 steps ahead in everything that you're doing in the studio. So when you're looking at us and we're kind of working out some things in the studio, I'm really kind of 10 to 20 minutes ahead of that, trying to keep things on the timeline and all of that. So is this the best job? Absolutely. Is it challenging? Absolutely. But when you can do this as often as I do and for as long as I do, I couldn't think of anything better.
Thank you for tuning into another episode of Visiting Professionals. I'd like to give a special thanks to Chris Campbell and the folks down here at WDET. Until next time, I'm your host, Austin Slabough, signing off.